All right, we're gonna make a lean dough. Basic white bread sliced dough using instant yeast. Okay, it's different from active yeast. If you use active, you have to soak it in water first. Instant yeast, you don't have to do that. You can do what's called straight dough method, which means we just combine all of our ingredients together and mix. For this recipe, 4 cups all-purpose flour. I'll show you the type of flour I like. I like lots, but King Arthur is one of my favorites. It's easy, it's local to get. 4 cups. This is the one I'm using. Percentages, 12.7 gluten content. Here's another, 11.7. This is a whole wheat, meaning it still has the German brand, not just the endosperm, okay? This is endosperm product. This is endosperm wheat and bran, or germ, excuse me. This is good stuff to make sourdough starters from because it still has a lot of the natural yeast inside of it, which is awesome. If you use whole wheat, you usually have to add more water because hydration is different. So 4 cups flour, 2 cups water. So when it comes to water, temperature is important. We're not going to get into the details of artisan, but all you need to know on the basics is that if your water's too hot, your yeast will die. Yeast dies at 148, 145 degrees. So if your water's hotter than that and you add your yeast to that, it's going to kill it, okay? It can be freezing cold, it'll be fine. It's just going to take longer for your bread to proof and rise. So I like to try to find a happy medium, 80, 90 degrees. Goes right in. For measurement purposes, I usually never measure. I just do it by hand, but call it a teaspoon of instant yeast. Oh, that's a half teaspoon. I keep my instant yeast in my freezer. Lasts forever. All right, salt. This is where you can start to play around with it a little bit. Recipes always just call for salt. They usually won't specify a brand. Sometimes they will, sometimes they don't. I never use iodized salt. Table salt, you won't find it in my house. I think it's a garbage product. Real salt, Himalayan salt. You could even do a flavoring salt like onion or garlic. Kosher is also a really good brand that I like to use. I've used this type for years and years and years, but never iodized. I do Celtic, but that's more for health benefits, and I do drinks and put it under the tongue, stuff like that. I usually don't bake with it, just because it's expensive. Real salt's not. So, I like salt, so roughly 2 teaspoons. This is something that you can play around with a little bit. And then you're going to mix. Let that go for a minute. Uh-oh, too fast. I made this about 4 or 5 hours ago, just so that I can show you. My elevation is around 5,600 feet. So when it comes to time and temperature in a recipe, I will never give it, because it's going to be different from sea level to where I'm at. So proofing is always different. So I always just go by double in size, if not triple, depending on what I'm making. Get out of the way. This is just for 1 loaf that we're doing here. Nice. Brush with butter, olive oil, bacon fat, whatever your preference. Uh-oh. There it is. oil spray that I like to use. If you're dealing with a super wet dough, you can do a little dusting of flour as well, and this will help. Oh yeah. Hold on, I gotta get some water. All right, so I'm just wetting my hands with this dough. I'm not adding more flour, right? Because it's sticky. Oh, it's sticky, add more flour. No, don't do that. The flour that you're adding is not going to get absorbed into your bread, and it's going to create this gross texture, right? We don't want to do that. Okay. So for a basic loaf, I just fold and roll, and then I'll kind of pull it back with my hands. Scaling is the part that you're going to need practice on if you've never baked bread before. Mixing ingredients is the easy part. The scaling of the bread, you'll find, will be the challenging part. Into my grease pan it goes. Keep your dough covered. I'll just do like a little, I actually have like a shower cap I bought specifically because it fits perfect around boules, right? Unused shower cap, of course, obviously, we'll be discussing. Proof until it's double in size, and then this is when you bake. I bake most of my breads between 400 and 500 degrees. Just regular slice bread, I'll just bake around 400 degrees so I don't caramelize my top too much. And then you're gonna go for an internal temperature of 190 degrees minimum. This is how you know bread's done. This is why you need to have a cool thermometer. Get your thermometer, 190 degrees. In rich doughs where we're incorporating fat and eggs, things like that, minimum internal temperature of 200 to 210 degrees. This is how we know our dough's done all the way, so we don't have raw product. So, basic bread using instant yeast.